Okay, so how do we do it in the system? Let's build a use case. We'll take the same classic example of wedding cake. So we need a cake, a wedding cake. This is the finished product that we need, a quantity of one. And to produce this, the subcontractor needs flour, say 5 pounds, and sugar, say 5 pounds. These are the raw materials that we're going to supply to the subcontractor or vendor, and he's going to ship us back the wedding cake, right? So let's create these three materials: wedding cake, flour, and sugar, and create a purchase order and subcontract this to the vendor. So wedding cake, flour, sugar, MM01, wedding, say cake, 01, industry retail, and say this is finished product. Enter. We need the basic view, we need the purchasing view, and we need the accounting view and storage view, right? Maybe MRP1 view. Enter. And this is for the Chicago plant, and storage location is baked goods. Hit OK. And this is wedding cake. And you could measure it in pounds or you could measure it in each. In this case, I'm just going to put each. So one wedding cake. Enter. Purchasing group, fine. MRP, just put PD. Some data in the MRP fields. Lot size, EX. And the plant storage location, this is okay. Valuation class, these are finished goods, so we do 7920. And let's say this is moving average. Enter. You're about to exit? Yes. So we have created a wedding key. Okay, schedule margin key. In-house production, 5 days. Okay. Save. Okay, wedding cake is ready. So this material is ready. It's called wedding cake 01, right? And then we need flour and sugar. So do a flour, FLOUR, and it's raw material, right? Let's see if flour already exists. If not, we're gonna create them. Okay, it does not exist. So do a basic purchasing. We don't even need MRP, storage location maybe, and accounting. And this is in the Chicago plant. And say raw materials and enter. Oh, material already maintained. That's great. Change flour, basic data, purchasing, accounting. We just want to quickly view it before we say we are done here. Flour, good, okay. Okay, accounting, everything is good. And sugar, right? Sugar 01. Do we have that? Nope. So let's go create it immediately. Sugar is more or less a copy of flour, right? From a material management perspective. So I'm going to say copy from flour. And what do we need? Basic data 1, purchasing, plant general storage, accounting. And we're going to copy from the Chicago plant on raw material storage location. Enter. enter, 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 enter. We're good to go. All right, so we got these three materials, right? What do we do next? Let's go ahead and create a purchase order. 4001, and the material is wedding cake. Quantity of 1. We want to order 1 wedding cake. What's the price of that? Let's say it's $300. I don't know if it's really expensive or not for a $300 wedding cake, but let's just put some value. All right, now this is procuring a wedding cake from the vendor 4001. Is that really the case here? Not, right? We don't want to just procure that material. We want to subcontract that material. How do you convert this item into a subcontract? Set an item category of L. L for subcontracting. Enter. Okay, and it says not possible to determine any components. What does it mean by that? We said a wedding cake, in order to manufacture a wedding cake or make a wedding cake, you need flour and sugar, right? Where is that relationship? That relationship is created as a BOM or bill of material. And SAP is saying that it cannot find the components, meaning it doesn't know that wedding cake should be manufactured using the raw materials flour and sugar. And it says, I cannot determine the components. It would not have asked this if you're doing a standard order. But because you're doing a subcontracting, it says, I don't know the components. We say, okay, we can enter the components manually. How? Go to the Material tab at the line item level, click on Components, and we can add the components manually. All right, a wedding cake requires flour, 5 pounds, right? And then sugar, 5 pounds. Enter. We're good. Go back. All right. Let's check if everything is okay. No messages issued. Save it. Standard PO is created. All right. You go there, pick up the PO number, Control C. So now you got to deliver the raw materials to the vendor. How do you do it? There are two ways to do it. One way is to do a transfer posting. And why transfer posting? Because it's neither a sale nor a purchase. So you won't use the standard movement types for goods issue or goods receipt. So go to MyGo, do a transfer posting for flour and sugar, choose the right movement type. The other way is via a report. Go to Logistics, Materials Management. So purchase order, reporting, and SC stocks per vendor. So it's subcontracting stocks per vendor. So go there, you vendor 4001 and plant Chicago 1. You could filter it out by whatever parameters you like and execute it. So it will show you the list of components that you need to supply to the vendor. In this case, you need to supply against this PO, line number 10, on this date, 5 pounds of what? Of flour and 5 pounds of sugar, right? So what you can do is select them and do a PGI or post goods issue. All right, from which storage location? The storage location where you have the goods, right? They are supposed to be there in raw material storage location. Okay. It says it doesn't have that material, right? We have just created that material, but we didn't post any. So what you got to do is go back and put some of the material in stock. How do you do that? You do it using MyGo movement type 561 initial stock entry. But before we do that, let's go check the stock. For sugar in raw material storage location, Chicago plant, there's no stock. Now, how about flour? Okay, so we do have something in raw. Okay, that's good. So all we need to do is enter some stock for sugar. So MyGo, goods receipt, not against purchase order, but against other. And what's the material? Sugar. Sugar 01. How much? Say 100. Where? Not 501, but 561 from the Chicago plant and raw material storage location. Okay. Save it. Good. Let's go quickly check the stock and make sure we have enough sugar to supply to our vendor. Sugar. Execute. We do have sugar now. So we have sugar as raw material in our warehouse. We have flour as raw material in the warehouse. Now, let's go supply it to the vendor. All right, select them. Do a post goods issue. All right, so item is posted. You see that in green, right? So that means whatever stock that we needed to supply to the vendor has been posted. Now, again, let's go back to MMBE and check the stock. Say of sugar, we have supplied 5 pounds to the vendor, right? See that? Stock provided to vendor. And that's counted separately. So out of the 100 that we have in stock, 5 has been posted to the vendor. So far so good. Same thing would have been the case with flour. Now, after some days, the vendor has made the wedding cake, maybe within a day or 2 days, let's say. And now he is ready to ship it back to us. And what do? We take the cake and eat it, right? No, we don't. Against the purchase order, you go receive it, right? Although we would love to eat it. Okay. Now, there is one quantity of wedding cake that has come in. And what happened to flour and sugar? One of it is flour and one of it is sugar, because I didn't change the description. So did he consume 5 pounds of flour and 5 pounds of sugar? Well, we don't know. Let's just leave it at that, okay? So if you go to line item, wedding cake, and put it in the baked goods storage location, click item OK. Check document is OK and save it. Document is saved. Go to an MMBE for wedding cake, and you got 1 quantity of wedding cake in the Chicago plant. We're good, right? Now, it might be possible that he might have underconsumed the stock like flour or sugar, and he's ready to send it back. Now, don't think about the 1 kilo or 1 pound of flour and sugar. That's silly, I know. But over the course of time, let's say we give 10 orders a day of wedding cakes, and we keep supplying the flour and sugar, colors and whatnot, all the raw materials. Over the course of the day, he might accumulate some flour, or he might fall short of some sugar. He might have made it somehow, but we need to supply the necessary raw materials to balance it out, right? Now, if you go to MMBE and look at sugar that we had 100 pounds of, out of which we have shipped 5 pounds as raw materials, now you don't see any of those materials supplied to the vendor, right? It's all gone. It's consumed. Now, at this point, the vendor might call us and say, hey, you know what? I forgot. I have an excess of 10 pounds of flour or sugar. I can ship it back, right? This is called underconsumption. Or he might say, some of the sugar you gave me was bad, so I had to use some of my sugar, and I had to overconsume 5 pounds of sugar. So you owe me 5 pounds of sugar. In which case, it's overconsumption. Either way, it's a valid case. So how do you settle for that anomaly? What you do is do subsequent adjustments. So if you go to MyGo, right, put the purchase order in, and before you do a goods receipt, you have to select subsequent adjustments. And the subsequent adjustments is against what? Is against the purchase order. Now, what do you want to adjust? You want to adjust for 5 pounds of flour, and you can say it's an underconsumption, or it's so many pounds of sugar and it's an overconsumption, right? Let's say in both cases, it's 5 pounds or sugar and 5 pounds of flour. Both of them is a case of underconsumption. Check if everything is okay. Okay. Item okay. Okay. Do a check again. Item okay. Check again. All right. Document is okay. And click save. Document is saved. Now, if you go to MMBE, check your sugar. The additional 5 pounds would now have been sent to the vendor. So as part of subsequent adjustments, depending on if there is excess stock available with the vendor or short supply, in which case he might have consumed more than what is provided, you can supply or take back stock from the vendor. If you supply in excess, it will be shown as stock provided to the vendor. If you take it back, it should have been available with the vendor. So you can't take back stock that you have not given. So if you have stock available with the vendor, you can take it back. For example, there is 5 pounds with the vendor, right? Now you can go to MyGo, and as part of subsequent adjustment against that PO, what you can do is, okay, I want to take back 3 pounds of flour and 3 pounds of sugar, and item okay. Item okay. Check if everything is okay. Save it. Right. Now if you go check MMBE for sugar or flour, you see what happened? So you have taken 3 pounds back from the vendor. So what have we just seen?